bunch of noise right now for my friend Josh Johnson!
I watch a lot of true crime documentaries and series and stuff, and I like to watch the ones that, as best as possible, don't involve murder, because genuinely I'll be like, oh, this is wild, but this is also very sad. So I like the ones where it's like a robbery. You know what I mean? I like when it's like a huge drug bust, something you can really sink your teeth into without being like, oh, there is a family to be sad for. You know what I mean? And what I love is the process of when the person is sure they're not going to talk. You know what I mean? They'll bring somebody in, and when the person gets brought in, some people really hang tough. Some people, you know, door slams behind them. I've never been to jail, but I hear the doors are heavy. Door slams behind them. They actually get more tough. They sit in an interrogation like, what? I'm not gonna tell you nothing. You want something out of me? You got the wrong one, okay? And then there's other people, that door slams, and as soon as it slams, they're like, listen, I wasn't there, all right? It was Robert, it was Terry, Robert and Terry, it was their plan anyway. If anything, I'm an innocent bystander. I was just in the car. Y'all know when y'all arrested us, I was in the back seat. That's for a reason. I wasn't even the getaway driver. I thought we were going to McDonald's. Like, just, there are some people who snitch so fast, even the police can't write it down fast enough. Police are like, well, we got it on tape too, but yeah, this is too fast for the shorthand. Imagine you snitch so fast, you make a cop go, hold on. Take a breath. Because you never know who it's gonna be. There are some people who were, you know, whether it was gang activity, it's mob activity, there are people who are like the run of the litter, and they're the ones that actually hold out. They're like, I'm not telling you anything. I don't even think you have enough on me. Let's play, let's roll the dice. And then there are people, no matter how tatted up, no matter how affiliated, it might even run in the family. They might be somebody who is third generation, but they don't want to be in prison. They don't want to be in jail. And so as soon as they have the opportunity, they tell them everything. Things they didn't even ask. You see a lot of it, you know? Then you have people who at first don't tell. Then they're ready to talk after like a couple years. You know what I mean? After a couple years, you know, have enough mold on your sandwich that you're like, it's really not worth it. Like, nobody coming to visit me. Like, no. That's what makes me wonder what must be going through Ghislaine Maxwell's mind. You know what I mean? Look, I'm no legal expert, but I do find it wild that in this supposed cabal, this supposed billionaire ring of predators, that the only one you caught is the one you're ready to make a deal with. And a deal for what? You know what I mean? Exposing more names? Bringing other people down? Probably not. Probably just being bribed to not say the president's name. You know? And look, I could be wrong. I don't think I am. Because you've already seen Trump float the idea of pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell. We even know from old tapes they thought about pardoning her way back when she got sentenced. You know? And yeah, no, I agree. I'm not a fan of it. She's not here. I'm not a fan. The boo. This is somebody's essence being booed. Like, this. No, it is genuinely insane what's happening because, you know, Trump floated the pardon. He even was asked by the press if he would pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, and he goes, look, I could, but let's not talk about it right now. What an insane thing to say. You got asked a yes or no question, and you somehow answered worse than yes or no. I've never been doing a test and got a true false and put maybe. I don't know, you the teacher, you tell me. That's insane. Already floated a pardon in front of us, maybe to gauge our reaction. Maybe if there's not enough outrage, the pardon will go ahead. And then DOJ goes, have a conversation with Ghislaine Maxwell. And already, I think it was today, just today, she's been moved from the prison and she was in to a minimum security facility somewhere else. Thought we covered this. I too hope she can feel your boos. I hope boos work like laxatives, you know. Ghislaine Maxwell just sitting in jail right now. You know, booze don't travel that fast, and so it comes in waves out of nowhere. She's having a conversation. Oh yeah, Trump and Epstein were there. Ooh. That's my hope. No idea if that's the case. But, you know, you see this sort of thing happening. It feels insane. It feels insane to watch in real time. This is the only person, the one person that got caught, the one person that's being held accountable. And everybody's so obsessed with like the idea of a list or more people or whoever they want to be on the list being on the list that they forget that there were real people that deserve justice. And the idea that the only person that we've so far got might go free is it's unacceptable, you know? Because you see Trump floating, pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell, and I can't imagine what it must be like to be a Trump aide. Like your nose must bleed every day. It's like, yeah, I'm thinking of pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell, and the aide is like, what? I asked you what you want for breakfast. If anything, I think I am a little bit, I'm trying to figure out how to put this. I feel sorry for my friends who didn't see it coming because they still believed in like a system and they still believed in like laws and they believed that jail existed for like a reason, you know? And I am, I'm black. So I kind of saw a good portion of this coming. It's like, anyone who's genuinely shocked that Ghislaine Maxwell might get a pardon and that she's already been moved to a minimum security prison after being convicted, but then talking to the DOJ under like new light. Anyone who's surprised by that has never watched the first 48 before. And they think that people aren't going to see through it. You know, this is a lot like when you're in school and you didn't do your homework, but you remembered there was homework right as the teacher says, pass up the homework. And so you fighting. You've never worked a pencil harder. You fighting to get words on a page. It doesn't even make sense what you're saying. It's you going over the whole scarlet letter as fast as you can. And then you pass it up. Teacher collects all the papers, and you think, maybe I got away with it. All we had to do was 300 words, summarized in the last chapter of Scarlet Letter. I think I did it, pulled it off. Felt like 300, might have been 290. And then class is going on. Maybe you have to read while the teacher grades the homework, and then the teacher says your name. Calls you up to the front. You're like, okay, don't panic. Maybe I did a good job so fast she's impressed. That's a possibility. And then you walk up to the front, and the teacher's like, did you do this just now? And you don't know what to do. You're caught. She caught you. But there's another part of you that's like, maybe if I die with the lie, she'll believe me. What? Just now? No, I did this at home. And she's like, you sure? You're like, uh-oh, she's on to me. Yes, I did this at home. And then she was like, oh, okay, great, that's good news. I was worried that you did it just now, which means you wouldn't have your math homework. And then you remembered that this has been math class the entire time. That at least feels like what Trump is going through. Because if Trump was smart, he would have done all this stuff a long time ago when it could have maybe still been believable. But now, everybody sees through it. Oh, it's crazy. It's so crazy. And then, on top of that, this is already insane enough. Already, there are so many ties to Donald Trump, Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein, that even a pardon just feels like it would be happening in our faces, right? There's no misunderstanding about the conflict of interest. There's no misunderstanding about what her role is if she does testify in front of Congress or whoever. And there's no misunderstanding about what the quid pro quo is between the two of them. You know what I mean? And even in that moment, on top of all that, Donald Trump floats pardoning Diddy. And it's like, that one doesn't even have anything to do with you. I don't think. Don't you have enough to deal with? That's crazy. As someone who is not in jail, I'm sweating about everybody who's about to be out of jail. This is insane. So then already the public, especially by the media, somewhat, somewhat potentially unintentional, but the media did a disservice to the public when it came to Diddy's trial, because there's a lot that we know of Diddy. There's a lot that we know that he did, that he's alleged to have done. And I think that the state put forward a remarkably bad case to try to lock Diddy up. Because I think from the public's view, they see the trial and you see it through the lens that the media is selling. The media wants you to keep watching, they want you to tune in every day. And so they make it look like he's about to do 10,000 years, right? They really hype this thing up. They never really mention that all the while the trial is going on, pieces are getting dropped. Left and right, charges are getting dropped. There's things that the state is focusing on. There's things that the state is dropping. There's things that we understand that Diddy is at least allegedly done from all the documentaries that came out. You would think that Diddy was 16 OJs, the way that he had documentaries coming out about him every month. Everything Diddy ever did to anybody, they got their own documentary on Tubi, on HBO, on Hulu. Everywhere. Oh, he hung me out of a window. Like just nonstop stories, right? But it's important to remember what he's being charged with and what he's on trial for. So then things would even come up during the trial. Things that are illegal, that they were just talking about plainly, all to get to the thing he's actually being charged with. So as bad as this testimony sounds, and as many things that are going on, you have to remember these are not the things he's being charged with. And I think that media got carried away. I think the news got carried away because they finally had something juicy, something big, something that they knew was going to last for days, weeks, months, that wasn't the same old stuff, something that had a bunch of intrigue in it. Apparently there's all these tapes. Apparently he has all this blackmail on all of Hollywood. There's all these things that were supposed to be coming out during the trial, you know? And then the state supposedly makes their case. They read out the verdict. Everyone is sure that this man is about to do 10 million years. And then they read the first one, not guilty. And they start reading them, and there's 5 charges, and 3 of them not guilty. The 3 that carried the most weight, the 3 that had like a minimum 15, 20 years, you know? And then there's 2 misdemeanors. Those 2 misdemeanors he is found guilty of. The people are perplexed. How is he found guilty of these things that are at least tangentially related to the other charges that he hasn't been found guilty for? What's happening, right? And those charges, the things that he was convicted of, they don't carry some mandatory minimum. You know, he could get time served. He could get up to 10 years. He could still do 20 years. But it's not likely that he'll do 20 years because that is the most extreme of cases where you give people the maximum. And I even rewatched a little bit of the reading of the verdict, and I just thought to myself, could get time served. Why would you bother pardoning him? Like, he might already be walking out of jail that day. That's such a crazy thing to do. You don't have enough going on with everybody thinking you were like on an island 152 times or whatever. To be a Trump aide, you must need heart medication, because they already try to convince him, look, that looks bad if you just pardon Ghislaine out of nowhere after all this time and everything, after everything she knows and the pictures that y'all are in together, all the pictures that you're 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 in together, the other pictures that you're in together, the pictures that you're in together, all of the pictures that you're in together. Plus, she did have 19 phone numbers for you. That's not a good look either. And then Trump says, I see what you're saying. I understand. All right, look, what we're gonna do, we do best, all right? Gonna run a little interference. We're gonna run a little distraction, okay? And we're also gonna pardon Sean Diddy Combs at the same time. Karen, press secretary, must be fighting demons. I can't imagine. Look, everyone, whether it's Kellyanne Conway, it's Sean Spicer, anyone who has had to represent the Trump administration, go out to the press and answer questions. Look, I understand they chose that job. I understand that they chose to be there. But to a degree, you do have to wonder what the conversation is like before they go out. When they get handed a binder, and at the last second, one of the aides says, and he gonna pardon Diddy. So, no matter who it was, whether it was Sarah Huckabee Sanders, anyone who has represented the administration on the news or in the press room or anything like that, there's at least been 1 or 2 days where they had a 1,000-yard stare because they were like, how am I gonna pull this together? Because look, things came out during Diddy's trial, things that made you think, of course, this jury is gonna find this man guilty. They have to look at everything that they've heard, but you gotta remember the things he was on trial for and the things that they heard didn't always line up. There was one day of testimony that truly blew me away in that case, and that's hard to say because plenty of those days were rough to listen to. But there is one day in particular that has stuck with me in a different way than the other days. It was the day that Kid Cudi testified. Now, famously, still somehow allegedly, Diddy supposedly blew up Kid Cudi's car. You're bringing the man who has his car blown up to testify. You would think that that'd be one of the charges. I've never blown up a car in my life. But if I was brought to court to sit and hear testimony of my crimes, I would imagine the car blowing up would be one of them listed. Anyway, they bring in Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi's testifying about the timeline when he dated Cassie, things that happened between him and Diddy. And then he describes a day that is truly harrowing. Kid Cudi is testifying that while he was gone, he was actually, I believe, spending some time with Cassie, that Diddy hears about the relationship, is very upset about it, and Diddy went to and broke into Kid Cudi's house, right? So already, Diddy in your home, that's terrifying. Diddy in your home is the devil's version of Elf on the Shelf. You don't know what he gonna do. You don't know where he gonna be. Ooh. So Diddy was in his home. Now, I'm a little fuzzy on this part, but apparently, I believe at least, that it was Diddy's assistant that called Kid Cudi to let him know, hey, okay, ooh, how do I tell you this? There's no good way. Diddy in your house. He is all up in your house. I mean, I drove him. He made me. He's like, where he live? And I was like, and we went over to your house. And so he's in your house. I'm not now, I'm outside. You know, he told me to wait here. I don't know what he gonna do. And so, Kid Cudi rushes home. And not only is he rushing home, he actually, this is at least as I understand it, must have Diddy's number because they had a conversation. And he was like, yo, you in my house? You in my house? Bass in voice, ready to beat somebody down. You in my house? And apparently, Diddy very calmly said, yeah. Kid Cudi better than me. If it was me, I wouldn't have a home anymore. If it was me, I'd be like, all right, then you got it then. I mean, if you're already there. Someone breaking and entering into your home and then calmly telling you they broke and entered into your home is more terrifying than I think y'all are giving it credit for. Because then Cudi, apparently, according to testimony, was like, I'm headed there right now, like ready to really beat this dude down, right? And then Diddy said, okay, I'll be waiting for you. I wasn't in court. I had to read all this, and I haven't read a novel by Stephen King scarier than what I read between the two of them. Kid Cudi gets home, Diddy's gone. He walks into the house. Now, that's braver than me. I would assume he's already planted a bomb somewhere. But Kid Cudi walks into the house, is looking around, assessing the damage, and while Diddy was there, he put Kid Cudi's dog in the bathroom, then opened all his Christmas presents and left. That is so insane. We are dealing with pure evil. That is so insane. Open all his Christmas presents. How is he all at once one of the most menacing figures that hip hop has ever seen and a third grade bully? How is it possible that both of these characters hold the same space in the same body? Because that is so particularly evil. He said, I walked over, Christmas presents unwrapped. I opened the bathroom door, my dog confused. And why wouldn't the dog be confused? Let's, for a moment, if you will, put yourself in the dog's paws, all right? You're a dog. You a dog. You're a dog. And you're at home, chilling, as you should be. And then the door opens. Oh, Papa? No, it's not the owner that you love. It's Sean Diddy Combs. I don't know what type of dog Cudi has. I don't know if it's a Scooby-Doo type dog, but I imagine any dog would be like, ready? And then Diddy walks over to you confidently, like he knows you. And then he puts you in the bathroom and you're like, okay, I guess that's the best possible outcome. Oh, wow, okay, oof. I thought something way worse was gonna happen. I'm not gonna lie to you. Wow, that's great. From what I've heard about you, the bathroom, man, I don't love it in here, but it's better than whatever you're about to do. And then Sean Diddy Combs opens all the Christmas presents and goes, well, my work is done here, and exits. This is how evil what he did is. He already messed up the call to the police. Because now you're going to call the police and have to explain to the police that the only thing that Diddy stole from you was wonder. that call to the police. You gotta call the police and tell them that Diddy, and the police are asking you very reasonable questions. They're over here like, is he still in the home? I don't know. Hopefully that would make this whole thing a bit more serious. Right now he's left it at hilarious, which is a sick thing to do. No, it's truly insane. Not even destroyed, unwrapped. I can't leave this alone until y'all recognize how dirty this is. Imagine. Lots of people here celebrate Christmas. Lots of people exchange Christmas gifts. Imagine if you came home and there just wasn't paper. And now everybody in the family either like happy or disappointed, like, oh, you got me the Theragun that all right, we're like a couple months out, so can I have it now, I guess? Truly an evil man. And Trump is floating, pardoning Diddy. Even before, this was odd, even before this Epstein stuff popped up, Trump had floated the idea of pardoning Diddy mid-trial. And I was like, I didn't know they went together like that. That's weird. Imagine being a white man in your 80s and your favorite rapper is Diddy. No Raekwon, no Rakim, no Run DMC, Diddy. Okay. And even then he had floated the idea of pardoning Diddy. And who knows, maybe something happened. Maybe some money exchanged hands. Maybe somebody said something to somebody and started it in motion and everything. But I can tell you this, justice system aside, the only person working hard to make sure that Diddy doesn't get a pardon, it isn't the state. No. It's not like the DA or the lead prosecutor or anything like that. The person working their hardest to make sure that Diddy does not get a pardon, that he doesn't get released back into society is 50 Cent. 50 Cent was so excited when Diddy was arrested. There's a video. You can watch the video. It's about 8 seconds long, but it's very, very funny. And it is 50 Cent laughing in the car when I guess he heard the news that Diddy had been arrested. And this man is chuckling. The joy on this man's face. And then he's chuckling to himself and he goes, he goes spend Christmas in jail. I've never hated anybody that much. That's so good. Oh, he gonna spend Christmas in jail. He was laughing hard. He was laughing the way that sitcoms used to make people laugh. Like, just, Christmas in jail. And so when 50 Cent heard that Donald Trump was floating pardon for Diddy, he went to work. He did what he does best. He trolled. 50 Cent just started posting everything bad that Diddy ever said about Donald Trump and tagging Donald Trump. This man went, is this your friend? I wouldn't do that if I was you, Mr. President. You won't believe what he said about you. Oh, no. No. No, Donald Trump, this is not one of your African Americans, okay? It's been tough. I've been trying to find, like, really, whether I'm reading or I'm watching, I've been trying to find pretty much any news story that isn't about Trump and Epstein, you know? And I came across one that genuinely shocked me in Florida. They, yeah. In Florida, the Tallahassee police arrested Chuck E. Cheese at Chuck E. Cheese. Apparently, Chucky had done some wire fraud. And so the Tallahassee police showed up to the Chuck E. Cheese. And they were ready to take him in, all right? Cuffs already out. And they arrested Chucky mid-birthday party. You couldn't wait an hour and a half? You know where he is. It's not like he gonna get far in the costume. They arrested Chucky. Those poor kids. Imagine. Picture, if you will, being 6 years old, and you're having a birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese because the economy is not doing great. But you're having a good time, you're enjoying it, you're like, cheese pizza, so they say. Delicious yum, right? You're just trying to put on a good face. You jump into the ball pit that is not nearly deep enough. The ball pit that is full of children under the balls because every kid thought it was the funniest thing in the world to pop up out of the balls, but that meant that the ball pit was actually a hard surface because it's made of bodies. You jump into the ball pit doing like a big old face plant thinking you're gonna slide down into the balls, and you just bang heads with another child. You get out of the ball pit concussed. Chucky offers you a flat Diet Coke. Look, there is a hierarchy to costumed mascots. Now, the most athletic are gonna go to teams. You ever been to a sports game and you see their mascot stretches before, they doing wild moves like, You go to Disney, there's a lot of walking, but it's a lot of poise. It's a lot of like the stances, you know. You get somebody that's doing goofy, and they're really doing goofy. They got them, you know. Chucky. Chucky, as far as like costumed mascots go, Chucky doing a lot of the same. Trying to figure out how to put this. Chucky, the qualifications to be Chucky at Chuck E. Cheese are a lot like the qualifications to work at a Waffle House, okay? You're gonna get in the costume, they're gonna tell you, do your best, all right? Do your absolute best, and if somebody swing at you, you can swing back after they hit you the first time. You gotta let them get that first hit in. If you hit first, that's assault, all right? And you'll be fired. But look, if they put hands on you first, then hey, you gotta get it how you live and go ahead and swing on them. So imagine you're surprised when at your 6th-year birthday party, you're celebrating 6 years on this planet, and it hasn't been a grade 6. You're a little too young to remember COVID, but you know mom and dad are weird. You clapping with your friends. And Chucky's doing his thing, trying to find the beat. And you're like, I think he doing something. I can't tell. And then the Tallahassee police walk in. And they cuff Chucky right there in front of you for wire fraud. Y'all couldn't wait. You know where he works. He wasn't gonna get away. No, we gotta cuff him right now in front of the children. Traumatize him. Nah, forget these kids. We gotta dish out justice real quick. Now the kids distraught. They over. You know that? Okay, all right. I'm sorry. It's funny because it's I can see the kids being like, what'd he do? What'd he do? You know that rumble in the throat when you really cry? There's a certain way you can cry when you're 6 that you never cry again. This is honestly, a 6-year-old will drop an ice cream and they'll be like, just mixing Disney voices, half Ursula, half Jafar. What'd he do? Let him go, he ain't did nothing. Kids out here vouching for, he was here the whole time. Because you know that. You know when a kid cry long enough, they start coughing. When a kid get real upset and they full of mediocre pizza. Yo, free Chucky! Yo, free Chucky! No. Now you getting arrested at Chuck E. Cheese, they perp walking you slow just to embarrass you. Y'all really couldn't wait till he got out the costume too, because you know he can't walk fast with those feet. He still got the costume feet on and everything. So now they over here. They get Chucky outside, slam him up against that car. patting Chucky down. Why you need to pat Chucky down? That would be wild though if Chucky had like a full-on Glock on him. Like that would be crazy. If Chucky he doesn't care where he is. He could be at Chuck E. Cheese. He could be in the streets. He keep that thing on him. The thing that I think would have been probably the toughest for the police, because I personally read about this. I didn't see video, so I don't know if this happened or not. But it would be hard. It'd be very difficult to, open up that car door. And when they walked him out, they did it in full costume. Like the head was still on. Like, that's crazy. This is a personal vendetta now that you have with Charles Entertainment Cheese. That you couldn't at least take the head off in Chuck E. Cheese. Imagine they take the head off. I mean, I'm sure the kids would have been more upset. Chucky Black. I could have sworn. Anyway. Look, there's not full video that I saw. This is all what I've read, but it's gonna be hard to put your hand on the back of Chucky's head and get him in the car without it looking like police brutality. Because it's not gonna fit. The head is too big. So now you over here, watch your head. Kids at the glass of the door. You know how Chuck E. Cheese built. They at the glass like, no. They beating up Chucky. Police like, no, I'm not. I'm trying to get the head in. No, he won't fit. He can't even feel it like that. No, don't do that. Everybody start recording. Look what they doing to Chucky, y'all. And they take you down to the police station. Perp walking you. Downtown. Imagine if you got arrested that day. For possession of illicit substances. It could be anything. It could be acid, it could be shrooms, it could be anything. And you got arrested for possession. You're not a dealer. They caught you doing, essentially, a victimless crime, trying to enjoy yourself, enjoy your Saturday. Maybe you don't have your life together. Maybe you're not invited to your kid's birthday party. And you get arrested, you're sitting downtown, waiting to be processed, and then Ayo. I know I got a right to remain silent. I know this may hurt me in court. But did a giant mouse just walk through here fully arrested? Oh, thank goodness. I thought I was still very high from drugs. It's insanity, you know what I mean? Now you gotta do everything. How you gonna take Chucky fingerprints? These aren't even functional. I don't know if they feet or hands, but they not. mug shot too. Those mug shots are cold. They're just like, ready, face me. Turn. Turn. No. Now you gotta sit in holding. Imagine all you did was get a little drunk. Maybe you get into a fight at a bar, you sitting in the drunk tank, and the only other is Chucky a person? Nobody else in there but you and Chuck E. Cheese. And whether it's jail or a birthday, they never really gave, at least that I know of, Chucky a voice. Chucky was always silent. At every birthday party I had at Chuck E. Cheese, Chucky was silent. You know, just do the... Imagine you sitting there with Chuck E. Cheese in jail. You're wondering how your life took this turn. You look over at Chucky, and Chucky mad. Chucky like, you know, I thought I had that wire fraud on lock. I'm wondering who snitched. I'm wondering what went wrong, yeah? You look over at Chucky, and Chucky's like, what you looking at, dog? You got a problem? But all you see is... Yo, you want step? I'm just saying that in this like kangaroo circus of a court and justice system where we know the government is playing in our face, playing with really dangerous people who have done terrible things. If you're gonna pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, if you're gonna pardon Diddy, then at least yo, free Chucky, all right? Denver, y'all been phenomenal. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all. I've been watching the newest season of Love is Blind with my girl. This is the thing about that show, right? I think the show
is in theory a good idea, right? What if by chance we got out of our own way, right? Because most of dating is swipes now. Like a good portion of how people meet is dwarfed. Online dwarfs every other version of meeting. Like meeting at a bar, meeting at work, all that stuff like that. Meeting online is way, way bigger. So a big part of how we feel about each other and how we feel about ourselves when it comes to dating is completely and totally dictated by bots. I know we don't think it's bots, but it is. Like, most of these platforms are flooded with bots because if they can keep you on the platform, they keep your money, right? So better to have a couple bots entertain you and waste your time for a little bit so you think that something's going somewhere while maybe you work it out with a real person or maybe not. But either way, we've got your money. It's like a gym membership, right? You ever try to cancel a gym membership? I remember I had a gym membership. That's one of the few things that seems obscure that like Biden was trying to get on that I was really excited about. Because the Biden administration was basically like anything that took your credit card for you to start the membership should be just as easy to get out of, just as easy to opt out of, right? Because there are some things that aren't. There were a lot of gyms back in the day where you could go up there and sign up that day, all right? And then be like, okay, I'm a member of this gym and I'll buy 5 months outright because you're doing 2 months free or whatever. So I'll be a member for 7 months. That's most of the year. I gotta get sexy by then. And so you do this like 5-month fee and maybe you do it in one lump sum or maybe they keep charging your card every month at some discount or whatever. But then at month 6, you're like, it's not working. I keep coming once a week and pushing 3 things and nothing is changing. I don't think I'm gonna get sexy on the right timeline. And I want to be a member of this gym for 40 years. So you know what? I'm gonna cancel it. I'm gonna cancel my membership. And so then you go there, and this happened to me. You go to the gym, and you're like, I would like to cancel my membership. And at first they try to fight you. First they're like, no, you were just getting sexy, dog. We all noticed it. There was one day we were changing the towels and we're like, damn, I remember when he came in January. It's March. What a difference. And I'm like, I'm flattered, but I don't feel very sexy. And the scale says I weigh the same. So I'd like to cancel my membership. And they're like, dang, dog, I'm sorry to hear that. I really am. You know, we love having you around and everything. And like, you know, it's just your presence lights this place up. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we see you, dog. We see you when you struggling, when you struggling to do that, like clean and snatch. You know what I mean? When you got the bar here and you trying to, Whenever you're doing this, we laugh. It's such a great day. We gonna miss you, man. You sure you want to do this? Yeah, I gotta do it. I gotta end my membership. And they're like, okay. All right. Well, it's a shame because you can't end your membership here. And I'm like, what? Like, yeah, we don't do that here. I'm like, what do you mean? This is where I came to start my membership. This is where I exercised my membership. How can I not end my membership? No, there's a whole process and everything, you know. So basically, you gotta write a letter saying like how you're not sexy and stuff, and then you gotta mail that letter. Okay, you gotta mail that letter to our headquarters. Our headquarters will then let us know. And also, you can't just mail it to the headquarters. You also have to call in and be like, guys, I don't want to be sexy anymore. And then you have to call before your letter gets to the headquarters, because if it gets there first, it sort of invalidates your call. So you have to make sure you call, and it's best to call while the person at HR at headquarters is holding your letter. I know you won't have any idea when that is, but try. Just call a lot, call consistently until maybe you call and they're holding it and they're like, oh, is this you? Yes, it's me. I would like to never be sexy. And so then what they'll do is they'll call us and we still won't cancel it. We'll just know that you're a quitter. And so then Then after they call us, we will call the department, which is a third party that actually handles our memberships, and tell them to take you off of the mailing list, just the mailing list. But eventually, once you've been off the mailing list for long enough, we'll stop charging your card. This seems like it should be illegal. Because it's a process that sounds like it's gonna take years. There was such a long process, and then they said I was no longer a member. I had stopped going, and then I saw where they still charged me. I called them, and that called them at the gym, and they were like, no, you gotta call headquarters. So I called headquarters, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and then someone finally got on the line being like, hey, I was about to take my break. Because the whole plan there is just to frustrate you so much so that you end up keeping it. Because what they want you to do is to still have it, and it's so hard to get rid of that eventually you go one day, and as soon as you go, you've basically renewed your membership and everything. They just want any way possible to squeeze as much money out of the people that are going, right? And so that's one of the things that Biden was like, oh, we gotta stop this, you gotta make it clickable. You know what I mean? You gotta make it just so that, did you click to start the membership? You should click to end the membership. It's like, wow, what a novel concept. You know what I mean? That's the type of thinking that comes from a man who doesn't have a lot of time to mess around. Do you know what I mean? He's like, let's get right to it, But that's what the dating platforms do. They just don't want you to cancel, right? And they've come up with tiers. They've come up with little systems to get extra money out of you. Super swipes, double super swipes, thirst trap swipe. All these little ways that maybe you can find someone. And even when you find someone, you're not finding someone. You're just allowed to start a conversation now. And so what if we got out of our own way? What if that really happened? Where people who genuinely wanted to find someone and didn't want to have any barriers on them, any sort of expectations or even some of their own preferences, right? Just wanted to get to know a person just as they are, right? We're just going to talk. And what if we talked for so long, so many times, that we covered the amount of talking that it usually takes people in the real world months to cover? Because you know what it's like. You go on that first date. That first date is all surface level, if it's even true. It's like I try to be myself. I want everybody to feel comfortable being themselves. But as long as we're lying, we're lying. You know what I mean? If you're gonna lie, I gotta lie. I can't just show up being vulnerable and then you lie and then I look like a monster. So yeah, if you're gonna lie, then I gotta lie, You're gonna lie about the degree you have. I gotta lie about having a job. I just gotta make sure that we fit each other's lies. And then you get to the truth. And sometimes truth is very disappointing, because sometimes, whether it's your fault or of no fault of your own, you've built up an idea of who a person is, and that idea of who they are sometimes trumps the person that you see in front of you. So then you see the real person when you can't do it anymore. You know what I mean? One of the things the police used to do back when everybody was writing checks, and check fraud was this big thing because people con artists would get really talented at copying somebody's signature. When they thought that somebody might be one of these people, what they would do is they'd have them write something, but they wouldn't just have them write it once, because you can pretend to be someone else one time, 2 times, 3 times. They would have somebody, almost like when you got punished in school, they had to write the thing 50 times. And over time, you could see whether the person was bored or they just started getting in their head. Eventually, their true handwriting would show. And that's what we do when we get to know a person. After 3 months, you're like, look. There's a lot I didn't tell you about because I want you to stay. You ever been dating somebody and then 2 months and you're like, who is this person? It's like, no, this person is the person. I don't know. Sorry, you aren't dating who you thought. And so then you get all this talking. You get all this genuine quality time together, right? And I like this person. And so maybe this is my person, right? And how long would it take if all we did was talk, if all we did was really get to know each other? How long would it really take for us to fall in love with a person? Probably as long as production allows, you know what I mean? But like, but still, you see these people on this show, and within 9 days of being on the show and being in the pods, they're talking about I love you to this person that they've never seen, that they've never met, but they've talked so much. And a part of you thinks this person's dumb, this person's crazy. I don't think they are. I think if you got to do a deep dive into a person, you could find whether or not you like really loved everything about this person, how their mind works, their sense of humor, all the little push and pull that the relationship has, you know? And then they do the reveal, which is usually where things go awry. Because it's hard to get out of your own way, and it's hard to change your nature, especially in 9 days, right? And so then sometimes they do this reveal. If you never watched the show, they're in the pods, and they chat, and they chat, and they chat, and then people are picking each other as they're chatting. And you're really picking off a personality. You don't know what this person is like, you know? Sometimes you're watching the show, and you're like, these two look like they would go together in the real world, and they're not picking each other now. That's so interesting, right? Then they do the reveal. The reveal is like, they're across a hallway with this carpet and the doors open and they see each other for the first time. And, you know, a lot of times it goes great. They get really excited. Oh, I happen to be in love with a person who happens to be beautiful. What a bonus. And then sometimes you can tell, you can see it on the person that they're like, ooh. I am not blind. Because you got to understand, whether you've watched the show or not, it must be a lot. It must be a lot to like have someone talking to you the way that they talk to each other. They are talking to each other the way that we imagine our great-grandparents talked to each other. Like before devices got involved, right? When you really had to miss someone. And you really got to know them. And you didn't even know that many people. You know? Your great-great-grandparents might have only known 200 people in life. And then they pick one of those people. So you're not even doing the same comparison stuff we do. We're spoiled for choice. Or at least the illusion of choice. Because we're like, no, I could get anybody. That's what you think. Because then you match with them and you're like, damn, okay. You know? And it's tough because dudes are the ones that fall for bots the most. We really are. Like, we get botted hard. Our friends will tell us it's a bot, and we'll be like, maybe. Maybe. Or maybe she's just into me. Maybe y'all just can't handle it. It's like, she keeps asking for your social security number. And for you to send her money through PayPal. Maybe she's going through a rough time, dog. I don't know. You ever thought of that? You ever thought about sometimes beautiful people are down on their luck? Because we all know it's beautiful people who never get anything for free. You know? But yeah, you see it. You see it on them, right? Because they were talking to each other so wild. I love you. They propose before they're allowed to see each other. You know what I mean? They propose in the pods. You propose to this idea of a person, someone that you think that you could love for the rest of your life, right? And they are talking to each other the way our great-great-grandparents talked to. I'm talking about Civil War love letter talking to each other. You know those old Civil War letters? You ever read some of them? Oh, it's astounding. Dear Jebediah. I miss you terribly. And I can't wait to once again feel the brush of your long beard upon my face. I hope and pray for the day that I see you on the horizon and know that you are home for good. Love, Magnolia. Like, they would just be named after flowers back then for no reason. There's a bunch of roses and magnolias and tulips and stuff. And sometimes, I've read some of these letters and I've watched documentaries about, people that they've honed in on that we know the most about and everything. Sometimes those letters got nasty. Every once in a while, those letters... My dearest Magnolia. This war is a burden upon my soul. What keeps my fire alight is thinking of your warm embrace. I shudder to think if this letter is read by anybody but its intended. But know that your beloved keeps your handkerchief close by at all times. Your dearest Jebediah. With the long D. No, it's tough because they've said so many things to each other in these pods. They seem to mean them, right? Because that's the other thing you can suss out a little bit more. When you're not swayed by someone's looks, what they just say, what does that mean? And you can really talk the thing out, whatever it is, right? And they see each other, and sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes this engagement falls apart right after, soon after. Sometimes they, say no. I can't marry you, right? Watching this season, I don't know. Everything I'm saying applies to the entirety of the idea. So it's not about any one person or group or season. It's just like that idea, like what happens if we get out of our own way, But it's also hard because this is my thing about that show, is that by and large, every season of it I've seen, they are picking pretty good-looking people. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're picking people who these are gorgeous people, right? They have yet to pick someone that I'm really like, Is nobody gonna tell them? Do you know what I mean? This is where I lose you. Okay. I just want there to be like one season, because what happens is, and they've like done whole survey studies, they've interviewed people who've studied relationships, have talked about this stuff for a very long time, right? I'm not just saying, oh, trust me, it's science. I'm saying, like, you can look it up for yourself. When it comes to like long-term relationships, right? Relationships that are supposed to last to the end of your life, let's say you get married in your 30s, right? That they found that like women are, by and large, better partners to have, right? And it's because of the things that nurture a relationship are the things that women are usually the ones doing, right? Not saying there aren't great boyfriends and husbands out there. I'm just saying that like usually what upholds and keeps a relationship going is like some of the action, some of the planning, some of the thinking of the women in those relationships, okay? And this isn't to paint anyone as an angel either. I know relationships end for all sorts of reasons. It's just that like we all have our preferences, right? Every single one of us. And I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing, We all have our you might want the person that you end up with, no matter who you date, no matter who you love, to at least have like a head. That would be nice. A head would be nice. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not trying to... You would assume they have a head. And then as long as they have a head, there might be things that you like about the face on that head. And then you pick and you pick and you pick and you find the people, whatever. But just sometimes whenever people are in a noble pursuit, how they get there is not always questioned because the pursuit is noble, right? And so because so many people are trying to find their forever person, the ways in which that they are shallow sometimes don't get addressed as much because the overall pursuit is noble, right? It's much easier to come down on someone who's just like hardcore participating in like hookup culture for being shallow because we can just cast away the whole idea as trashy, right? But when someone's looking for like long-term love and they're being shallow, it's just kind of harder to call them out because they're looking for their forever person anyway, right? So it's just one season of Love is Blind. I would just love if they do the regular show. You can even pick all the good-looking people that you want. That's fine. Just pick all good-looking people. And I want good dudes, by the way. Real good dudes. Like good dudes where you do the research. He volunteers and he donates to the charities and he taking care of somebody sick. Really good dudes, right? But then when they do the reveal, right? And the doors open and they're standing across from each other, I just want every single one, every one of those dudes to be short. That would be great. That would be fire. That would be so good. And I don't mean short as in like 5'8". I don't mean regular height, but calling them short because your friends are tall. I'm talking about cartoonishly short. I want these dudes, I'm talking about the 4'11s of the world. I want these dudes to be so excited and so little that when they're running to their bride, they really got to do that step. You know what I'm talking about? You know when somebody real short, they need the extra steps, and so he... And she just... And they meet up in the middle, and they propose before they get to see each other. Sometimes they propose again as soon as they meet each other, right? You know, they propose, and since the beginning of the show, she's been saying, I just want to find love. Okay. Found him. He go to propose. He ain't got a kneel. No, just really test it. See if his love is blind. Okay. I know I'm getting older now because I've realized that a lot of people that I knew when I was young have passed away because of basic math. Do you know what I mean? Like there'll just be someone that you're thinking about where you're like, oh man, they were old when I was a kid and I pay bills now, so. Oh yeah, oof. I went to a Catholic school in high school, and there was a priest there that I thought was hilarious. I don't even remember his name. I feel bad about it, but you know he was dope, and he would do mass because we would have mass before classes and stuff, and he would always forget to turn his mic off. Consistently. I don't even think he knew it had an off button. He would always forget to turn his mic off, and then he would take the sacrament, right? Which is a cracker. And then every time he did it with next to his mic, it sounded like he was losing a tooth every week. It was never not hilarious. I remember the first time it happened, I was like, did he crack his soul? Like, what? And you know, I'm not Catholic, but I would sometimes, when we would have a retreat or something, I would go to the confession just to like do it. Do you know what I mean? Because there's a certain power in going to confession when you're not Catholic, because you're gonna tell someone a bunch of stuff they can't tell anybody else.
and then they're gonna tell you what to do about it, and you're just gonna nod. Like So I went to confession, and it wasn't as much of a confession because I think he knew I wasn't Catholic, so it was more of a conversation, right? And in the conversation, he said something that stuck with me ever since, where he was like, I don't know. This is him. I don't know if there's a God. But I've read the Bible, and I feel like, God or not, that this is the best way to live my life. I feel like I'm happier, I'm kinder to people. I feel better with this thing than without it. So that's just me, right? And I never heard someone, especially someone like in a church, like of the church, speak so candidly about their beliefs, right? I'd ask people my entire life straight up, hard questions. And sometimes they'd be like, well, God has a plan. But when somebody hits you with, I don't know either, it really stops both of you. I remember the moment he said it, I was like, oh, I hope I didn't break. I hope I didn't break a priest. You gotta go to hell if you break a priest. But he was like, no, I don't know. But I think that even if nothing happens when you die, even if there's no God, by the time I'm gone, I'll be pretty happy about the way that I lived my life. And I thought about that the other day. And I was like, ooh, I was 14. And he was like 84, so... I definitely missed a funeral. Okay. I don't drive because I'm a terrible driver. Like, I failed my driving test, and I'm out of practice since then. And so I don't drive, but I get driven. I take Ubers and stuff like that. Friends have given me rides and stuff. So I understand the value of gas money. And, it always felt like some classic 90s late night joke to talk about gas prices and if they were high or they're getting so high or whatever. And at least right now, gas, at least in most states, is on the lower side. It's cheaper. It's trending down, actually. It's cheaper than it was last week at the time that I'm saying this, right? Don't quote me years from now. Mr. Moneybags thinks that gas is cheap. It's like, no. I'm saying that as of September 4th, 2024, gas is trending down. It's cheaper than it was last week. It's cheaper than it was a month ago. And it's down from a year ago, right? And I think that because of that, gas stations are maybe hurting a little bit, and they're starting to sell extra stuff that is a bad business model, right? Like extra stuff that shouldn't even be at the gas station. Like, I saw gas station flowers. Fellas, if you ever mess up and you're thinking about what you did and you're on your way home and you're feeling apologetic, but you don't want, you messed up too bad to just text. You can't just be like, I'm sorry, LOL. It's not gonna work. You're like, I gotta make this right? And so you're getting your apology ready in your head, and then, you see that the tank tank's pretty close to E. You're like, let me be responsible, fill up the family car, right? And then you get to the gas station, you fill up the car, and then you see inside that there are flowers, real flowers, at the gas station. If you walk in and you buy those flowers and you bring them home, she will leave you, all right? Gas station flowers look like an omen. Like, they're just dead enough to be alive. I've never seen anything like it. Like, and for sale of regular price flowers too. There was a bouquet that was in a bucket with a bunch of other bouquets, and I looked and the sign said $9.99 for these very dead. There's no vegetation around. These flowers were clearly shipped in like the back of a fridge or something. Flowers are big. Salads. I'm all for people eating their greens. And I think we should be healthier as a country. But if you buy a gas station salad, you have just used your credit or debit card to pay for E. coli, right? E. coli is supposed to be microscopic, but you can see it on a gas station salad. You can see it tap dancing in there. You can see it waiting to get inside you, excited. Eat me, please. I was at a gas station in Kentucky and saw, for sale apparently, a loose pickle. When I say a loose pickle, I want you to understand I said it right. I was at the gas station. My friend was getting gas. I was going to buy a bottle of water. And as I'm walking towards the fridge with the waters in it, I pass a shelf. The shelf has pickles laid out on the shelf and a price tag right under it. $1.99 for these loose pickles. $1.99 for these loose pickles. They're just on a very dusty shelf. And they were wet. Like, they had pickle juice on them. And it was a mystery I needed to solve because in my head, I was like, what could have happened here? Because this was like a mom and pop gas station. It wasn't like a Circle K or, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like anything like that. It wasn't a Shell or anything. It was just like a regular, independent gas station. There's very few now, and I guess I can see why. But this loose pickle is just on the shelf with some other loose pickles, like, but it's wet. And in my head, I was like, this is like either a miracle or the worst business idea I've ever seen in my entire life. Can you imagine someone pitching, look, pickles taste like pickle, all right? Just throw them out there. Don't put them in a jar. Don't let them soak in pickle juice. They're gonna taste like pickle no matter what you do, all right? Sure, there's a little dust. That dust is character, okay? But truly what I think happened, because this is like an indie, you know, mom and pop gas station, I think somebody went in there. And don't get me wrong, a person who's out of their mind, they went in there and they were like, hey, let me get the whole jar of pickles, but no pickles. I just want the juice and the jar. And then this mom and pop gas station owner said, rightfully so, Excuse me? Sir, I want the jar and the juice, hold the pickles, and I'll pay whatever price you want. And so then this very old man was like, okay. Because what do you charge for that? If somebody says, name your price, I would charge like $300. $300 would make me feel comfortable about making a sale to a serial killer, right? I wouldn't even say 3, maybe 500. I think 500 would make me more comfortable about what I had to do while somebody watched. You know what I mean? No, 5,000. $5,000 would be my price because I would want them to have to pay so much that they couldn't get far, and when I called the police, they wouldn't be. They'd just be one tank of gas away. Loose pickles. And I asked them, I was like, so your pickles over there, what's the deal with that? Because they're just loose on the shelf. And the guy, I'm not even getting, the guy goes, what? I was like, your pickles are loose on the shelf. Because now I'm getting nervous. So your pickles are loose on the shelf. And he's like, what? And he's like cursing under his breath. And then he goes over there to the aisle where I pointed. And he's like, not again! Again. And he's like, not again! I was like, wait, so this happened before? Like, you didn't want this to happen? Like, a weird stranger didn't come in here and pay you $5,000 for just the jar and the juice? And this dude explained to me while I bought my bottle of water that a resident weirdo comes in every couple of months and slyly takes all the pickles out of the jar and runs out with the jar and the juice. And he said, this dude said, I have alerted the authorities multiple times. But they say there's nothing that they can do. Because he's stealing, but it's not like a priced amount. And I was like, may I offer a suggestion? Pickles, $1.99 each. Jar, $5,000. When I